The wind came up very suddenly for a minute there.
Yeah, a tornado or something.
I wondered if all of my Tyvek was still on the building.
It didn't sound flip-floppy.
No, it wasn't too bad. I think we're getting our loose ends tied up a little bit.
The last retreat was unbelievable.
Really? So was the first one, as I remember.
I already thought this was something that was
Taken care of.
No, I thought it was something that we'd have to live with this.
We'll see.
It's a pretty tight job.
People want to take a seat, we'll get started and then we'll make it by 2 o'clock for lunch.
Yeah, I don't like cushions in the yeah. Do you think this chair would be better?
I suppose it matters.
I like those chairs.
Are there any new questions or old questions or about the sitting that you would like to talk about or ask?
I have a question about the sitting. When I sit sometimes, I have these distracting hallucinations, I guess that's the best way I can describe them. And they're rather visual phenomena. And I try not to be distracted, but to keep my attention. And I just sort of wonder where those come from, or what they are.
I mean, sort of visual images of
Pretty little
patterns, cartoons, things like this. I don't know where they come from. But what did you say? You were trying not to become distracted, but how did you put that?
Keep my attention.
Where?
I guess on my thinking and my being, the best way I can describe it.
On thinking, on being here. Was there the breathing?
Yes, the breathing, the presence of my arms and my legs.
Yeah.
And thoughts as they arise, just
yes.
try to watch them.
And then, in between all these hallucinations that you call hallucinations, these patterns, colored patterns and things, was it a problem?
No, it's not really a problem. It was more of a matter of curiosity.
Yeah. I can't satisfy that curiosity.
Is it a good idea to try and make an effort to ignore those kind of things?
Well, how can you make that effort to ignore? I mean, by sort of riveting your attention to something.
I don't know.
Sometimes these patterns, as you describe them, come up if one does rivet one's attention very forcefully to something, to concentrate on a word or a mantra or whatever, and in the course of this concentration something like this will happen. So all I can say is not to make a thing out of it, not to worry about it, not to think, oh, things are becoming interesting now. Then the flow, the current of attention is interrupted by bringing oneself in again. What does this mean to me? Am I progressing? Am I retrogressing? It's just happening. And it'll come and go. If you find it is distracting, wonder why is it distracting? Because you think it is distracting? Is there this thought in there that this is shouldn't be happening? A judgment again, and a separation of the judge and what is being judged. And if you find that is the case, and to just let go of this, then it's not problematical.
is very interesting because when sitting, there are not so many things changing, maybe noise or a cough. Walking, at first I was following my breathing, feeling how my body was, and then I kind of noticed there were all these different shapes, some cushions this way, some cushions that way, and that in a sense I had been almost not noticing those, maybe because my attention was so much on my breathing. It felt like the beginning of what we raised before, which is how to attend to one's mind and to issues in the outside world at the same time. It's interesting, I don't understand, interesting balance in there somehow.
But the way the cushions are sort of hanging maybe over a mat, that's there.
Mm-hmm.
And just to perceive that in itself is no problem, is it? If you think, what a mess, it shouldn't be like this, then there's already, that's not what you're talking about. Are you talking about that at the moment you notice these cushions, the attention is there and not on the breathing,
Mm-hmm.
or not on the walking?
Exactly.
Why not, I wonder?
I'll have to see.
Yeah, because if you don't call those cushions and mats or disarray, or you take no point of view on that. It's just there, just as the breathing. And you don't call the breathing breathing either, and the attention you don't call attention. It's just everything that's going on. If the words don't separate and the reactions don't separate, you may find that this can all coexist very peacefully.
I was surprised sitting today at how quickly I moved from one feeling to another feeling, from feeling very restless, intensely restless, I've got to get up and do something, to very peaceful and very quiet, to very uncomfortable, to very comfortable, to cold, to pleasant. It seemed like my mind was moving quickly from one thing to another and with intensity.
And you see too that if you don't make anything out of each state, it can go and come and go very quickly, as it does. But if you think this is something I would like to prolong, this peaceful feeling, then again there's some wanting and it may not stay. Then there's some disappointment, looking back at the memory of how nice this peaceful feeling was, or what did I do to bring that about. And all the while, you're roaming around in your memory, and not with what is actually going on. So to let things happen, whether it's painful or peaceful, and no one there to resist or grab onto it or judge it. Is that possible? Or when one becomes aware there is somebody there who wants that, can that just be seen like the other moods, just like a flow of events? And what's the quality of the seeing? Is that really spacious, quiet, non-meddling with what is going on? In this non-meddling, attention gathers, because it is not being wasted in the meddling.
Tony, what if it gets so peaceful we begin to fall asleep?
That's what.
I find it very easy to sit up and take a nap.
Or sway back and forth. You may not realize that you're swaying back. Your neighbor may realize.
People do it. That's so funny.
Yeah, it's a good question. Can there be attention of no? Before I referred to the drama within ourselves. Sometimes this drama is very boring. And can there be attention, not to anything, but attention without falling asleep?
Yeah. Because falling asleep, then it becomes a battle to stay awake
Yes.
and not fall over.
Yeah. And if you're really, really very tired, then not to battle, but rather wondering what is this whole thing, because even tiredness can be an awareness.
Yeah.
If there's no, I shouldn't be tired here. Everybody seems to be so wakeful. What's wrong with me?
Well, it's funny how it comes up, and then if you got up and went to bed, you might not be sleepy at all.
Sleepy at all. You may have all the
I always
energy.
feel like maybe I'm trying to escape something when I'm getting so sleepy.
So watch it,
Yeah.
or just plain resist it.
It seems like resisting the sleep makes it more intense.
Makes what more
The
intense?
tiredness. Trying to keep your eyes open, it's just a real struggle. It's a struggling of some kind.
So why not while you're sitting there? And we have sort of agreed to not move around during a period of 30 minutes or 15 minutes, whatever you. After that, you can go to bed and maybe find out what Molly did, that you're wide awake and you would like to take a walk or write a letter or something. But while you're sitting, there's no moving. You've accepted that. So what can you do? Can you do nothing and just attend to what sleepiness is without calling it that, not evoking all your associations of sleepiness? Now, there are plenty of them. Sleepiness means I should be going to bed, or I can't stay awake, or this, the whole panorama of associations with sleepiness. If that could be put aside, and wondering what the state is, crawl into it, as it were, and just attend to it.
Because it seems like when you do that, you just relax to it and say, oh, well, I'm going to just go to sleep. Then you wake right up. Seldom really doze off.
If you really watch. If you watch, something can reverse, or you may get more tired. You have to see.
Could you go over very briefly, just in a few words, what we're really doing while sitting? We're attending.
Well, what were you doing while sitting?
Just watching everything that was happening, inside, outside.
Were you?
Well, other than falling asleep.
So are you asking, you're not asking what are we doing, but what should we be doing?
Yes.
And should I answer that?
Well, I'd just like to hear it in your words.
I would be suspicious of that rationalization, although it may not be. But see, it's so dangerous to have somebody tell you what you should be doing. Let's say I give you really a good account of what should be happening while you're sitting. You're going to come back for more, wouldn't you? If it doesn't work out, or tell me this again, what I should be doing, and something happens then in the relationship. A dependency develops.
Mm-hmm.
And rather than looking what the hell is happening, you're going to go to somebody and ask what should be happening. And there are going to be lots of people who will tell you that.
We'll tell you what should
What
be
should
happening.
be happening, what you should be doing, because for many reasons. Power reasons, dominance reasons, or just wanting to be somebody, or wanting to have students.
It's more or less up to ourselves.
Isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But it feels scary to get thrust into the big void
Mm-hmm.
and not have any directions.
But isn't that a challenge at the same time in this life where everything has a direction now? Everything is organized and directed and propagandized. Somebody just told me yesterday the insidiousness of it. For children, first there is a program on all the super figures, and then comes the advertising to buy those. And so the kids want those figures. I know, our grandson, he has enough of them, but he wants more of them because his mind is being directed. So here you have an opportunity to find out what it is to attend and to be without any direction, whether this is even possible, because everything clamors for direction.
It's It's really hard for me because
For everybody.
all the rest of my week, I'm so busy that I have to make every effort to make sure that I'm extremely efficient and don't waste any time and do everything just right.
Yeah.
And so here I want to, even if I'm doing nothing, I want to do nothing just right.
That's right. Yeah. But isn't it precious to put aside 20 minutes in which you don't know what's right and wrong, and just you begin to listen to what's actually happening, and don't give yourself a direction of I have to succeed at it, or I may fail, somebody else may do better. Or to let all of those patterns come into awareness, that you may see them and maybe be free of them for 20 minutes or 2 minutes.
Sounds luxurious.
I found myself making I found I made a lot of judgments about the fact that my mind was like a big subway station, and that I was thinking about tomorrow and things were going to happen later today, and the driving home, and kind of saying, hey, this is my off time, stop it. And it really went like that. I mean, it was kind of like, it was so busy in there.
Yeah,
and I was thinking, we have people coming tomorrow, they probably want me to clean the house tonight. And things like, well, I just want to sit here and meditate. And I thought, wait a minute. And I got really confused because this whole business not supposed to be doing anything.
It can become a new compulsion.
Yeah, right. But I did notice, the thing that struck me was that I wasn't there. I mean, how much of my time was spent not being where I was, but on what had been said earlier this morning and what I was expecting the rest of the afternoon.
Yeah.
And really being unable to say, unable or unwilling or whatever at that point, to just being able to sit comfortably with it.
Yeah.
And just still being, come on, out, shoot, you know.
Yeah. The same thing you were describing about the atmosphere at your job.
Yeah. Yeah, same thing.
So to when you become aware of that, to say, here I have some time, some space. Let me just feel this thing which during the day happens so habitually and drives me nuts, to just observe that. What all is involved? Huh?
I think it takes practice.
I don't know. Let it be glimpses. Don't be perfectionist about it and greedy. I want now all 20 minutes to be attentive. But you discovered all kinds of stuff going on in this mind, which we think is so under control. And what I'm going to do, company's coming, I'm going to have to clean the house up. That is creating, in thought, the future which hasn't arrived yet, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because that's not there.
More trouble.
Yeah, not yours. It's everybody's trouble. Unable to be with what one is doing because of what one is going to do. You can observe that in the minutest things. While you're brushing teeth, you're going to do that, and why not just be with that? It's incredible if you're for one moment just with brushing the teeth and not thinking of what you're going to do next. Then there's such spaciousness, and the pressure which we're all under, putting ourselves under habitually, just abates. Or at least comes into awareness and is felt out in all its detail. It's not a time process. It can happen at a glance. So if pressure, habitual pressure, comes really into awareness and is not judged as bad, it doesn't have to be there. The body may not be able to relax that quickly because the body has its viscosity. It's also its memory, and it takes time to relax a muscle in spasm. But if the muscle in spasm or the system in spasm is felt, experienced with lots of space, not I should get out of this, I should be relaxed, then relaxation may take care on its own when the time is right. I mean physically. Mentally there can be attention instantly. I mean, and a thought can disappear instantly. The body is more sticky, takes longer.
So basically, there's no direction to sitting, and there's no technique. It's just doing nothing.
What does that mean, doing nothing?
Well, it probably changes every day as we see more of ourselves.
I mean, one has to be very, very careful in saying there's no method, there's just doing nothing, because at the moment one thinks that, namely quotes, so there's no method, there's no direction, there's just doing nothing. That's doing something. At the moment you think that, and there may be all kinds of emotions going with it, either resignation, disappointment, or already scanning in the brain for maybe somebody who will tell one that there is something to do to get one to enlightenment or
Speaking
nirvana.
of enlightenment,
I wish I hadn't.
there's a lot of emphasis on that in some schools of teaching. How do you feel about it?
There's a what?
There's
a lot of emphasis on it, on the Kensho experience or whatever.
Which is, we've talked about it just with other examples, it is sticking a goal in front of yourself, which is conceptual, fantasy, idealistic. You've read about it, heard about it. You imagine it to be something, light pouring in on you, or whatever the fantasy may be. And now you're all go to get it, to get there. Which is what? It's our same treadmill. And of course promises, there are reinforcements, there are carrots dangling, and somebody tells you you're getting along well on the path. Do a little bit more, or you're retrogressing, you're getting evaluated by whom? By somebody who claims he knows where you are at, how close you are, how far you are, and you again, the dependency relationship on that person. If you wonder what enlightenment is, do you realize that you're wondering about some idea? But if you're wondering what striving is, or wanting something, greed for something, or wanting to get out of this in order to be more peaceful, then that you can observe. That's very open to direct observation, because that's what's actually happening. Free from wanting to grab onto something in observing, or free from rejecting, free from opposing, free from me. Has there ever been a state where there's just no me, wanting anything, expecting anything? Just pure observing, being there without, what is my advantage in this? Because as soon as the me is there, it sees everything and everybody in terms of what can I get out of it, including what can I do for this person, and at the same time get something out of it for my skimpy life. It's not very meaningful. I want to go out and help people, so my life becomes more profound. So even that is self-centered, most of the time, if you look at it freely. That's something that we don't, no one may not even want to tackle, to look at all of these processes. But unless one does, they run one. And running not just you, but all of us, and then there's collision. Either we run parallel for a while and we think we're getting along well, but then one goal changes from the other and there may be collision.
So there's no enlightenment.
I didn't say that.
Then what is it? Then what is going on? Why are we here? Why are you there? You know, what's the process that's happening?
You came here and you're asking questions, and I'm talking, I'm responding to it. Now, do you have to have a reason for that? I couldn't give you exactly the reason why I'm doing it. Then I would have to start thinking and making up a nice little package.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
you're here, and we're talking with each other. We're looking at things together. Does one see something for oneself? For oneself, with that I don't mean to gain an advantage from it, but yeah, it's so. It's not because she convinced me, but this is really so. And then you don't have to pay homage to this person. And all the faldera that goes with that.
All the what?
Faldera. Is that the right word?
It's a good one.
You haven't heard that? $144. Any more questions? It's loading the dice. Would anybody want to say something more? Or ask?
Yes, I have a question. What topic will the talk tomorrow be about?
I don't know yet. Something more of the same.
Earlier you were talking about the physiological reasons for everything we think and feel. What do you think about things? I'm thinking of like miracles, something like that. Things that aren't based on physiology.
What do you want me to say? Give an explanation for miracles? Okay.
Or just, I'm wondering whether you would think that there are miracles.
Well, what is a miracle? Something, you say, for which there is no physiological... let's say somebody is deathly sick with terminal cancer and all of a sudden this thing turns around and the person recovers. Is that a miracle? Or maybe the person has done something, praying or so, and then there's maybe the deduction, there's some intervention. But who knows? something can change. We don't know everything. Even though there are physiological explanations for a lot of processes in the body, I don't think anybody knows why a body really falls ill with cancer or recovers from cancer. I mean spontaneously. One thing that I think could be said about miracles is that is the one what does it do to the one who's performing them? If, let's say a person performs miracles of healing or I don't know, walking on coals, or is that what you're on fiery coals? Or,
Some miracles are being performed by them.
So what do you see as a miracle?
Something that just happens. Unexplainable.
Something unexplainable. Now, what was the question? What did you ask?
It seemed as if you were explaining all the thoughts and feelings and everything physiologically, and I was just wondering, I'm thinking maybe that isn't so.
I think I hear a miscommunication here. I think Toni said that feelings and thoughts cause physiological reactions. I don't think she said the opposite, which is what I think you're saying.
A thought flitting through the mind can set the whole body into motion, commotion, emotion, turmoil. That's what we're talking about. Maybe at some time, you still remembered something else, do you? What I said?
Did it have to do with the question on spontaneity last time? Was that?
That one thinks one has
It can't be anything.
Oh, yeah.
the thought or the emotion has come spontaneously, but if there was a minute attention, there may have been a thought that triggered all of that.
I guess that, well, part of my question came from a thought I did have during that part of the discussion, which is
Yes.
a friend of mine who says that she's psychic, she can foretell things that are happening in the future.
Which is not such an uncommon thing. I mean, there are such people who can do that. But what of it now? What is your question? Are you asking me whether this can be explained physiologically? I don't know.
No, I think I was understanding you to say that all of our thoughts come from things that have happened in the past.
Yeah.
And that doesn't seem to explain that. As sort of a revelation.
The fact that somebody can say, this is going to happen in the future, doesn't seem to come from the past. I mean, is there such a possibility of being so clear that something that's just around the corner is already seen? Like when you fly in an airplane, let's say you fly over a lake, and a little bit later you fly over the river, over the tributaries that come from the mountains, and empty into that lake. If you're at the lake, you don't see the future water. You're there, but when you're up in the airplane, you see the whole scene, that this feeds into that. Then it's not foretelling the future, you just see the whole thing.
I have a question.
Huh?
I'm a mother and raising 2 young children. How can I best help them to remain centered and paying attention to what they're feeling without messing it up, like most grown-ups do?
But can you do it
Myself?
yourself?
I think I can do it sometimes. For myself, you mean?
Yeah, and that if you can do it, if that can happen, there won't be the same messing up of children as happens when one is totally inattentive or only attentive to one's own wishes and wants and demands and conditioning.
But there is the influence. I will still influence them, but I don't want to.
Are you asking how can I keep from influencing my children?
No. How can I keep from how can I keep from helping them? Well, how can I help them maintain their center, even though I'm influencing them as a parent?
But what is their center?
Themselves, who they are. They're paying attention to their own feelings and thoughts.
You know, as a parent, one is so harassed, so hurried, and a child plays along, is very much engrossed in this play, and then maybe in something else, and it's just started this, and then one comes around and says, hurry, 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 get going. And now, is that at this moment, is the question acute? Because at that moment you're interrupting what is going on, and if the child dawdles along, you may even become angry, you may not do that, but it happens. It again, we talked about it takes really time and space to observe children, to be with them without imposing, as far as we're able to, our hurried schedule upon them. Children are very able to do something and then drop it, do something else, be with it. But it's the interference of what parents need to do. They want to go shopping and drag the children along, and then the children aren't supposed to do this and do that at the supermarket. And school, when school starts, the whole imposition of a system of do this, do that, finish this, finish it in a certain time.
Is it damaging?
Isn't it?
Yes. Is there any way to avoid that?
Well, yeah, to what extent can you sit down with a teacher and discuss this? Because you really see the importance of it and the danger of it, and or with other parents. Because often teachers feel that the parents want a lot of stuff stuffed into the children. They feel pressure comes from the parents, and the parents feel that schools are doing it. So can one sit down together, discuss this? At a parent meeting, usually it's just how we're going to raise funds for the PTA or some such thing. Or how well are the children doing, but not getting at the fundamental thing. What is happening to these children? We're in the process of just force-feeding information into the brains.
Doesn't that go on even at university?
Yeah.
And every other
All educational
training
institutions.
On the job, or not even in the hierarchy of educational institutions, but even somebody learns a job or so, it can be the same thing.
In other words, learning, accumulating, remembering, and at the expense of understanding what is going on in the process. And that has to be discussed by the parents and the teachers and the children together. Because it's a common process. All of us are victims of it. And unless it's brought to light, it goes on darkly with its effects of what you describe in the jargon.
It was strange when I was sitting that one of the thoughts that went through my head, sort of in this crazy pattern, was when I listened to the wind blowing, was how when I was a little child, getting up on Saturday mornings was very special, and you would hear all those sounds. There were certain smells about Saturday, but when you get older, you've got so much to do that you just wind up at noon, and then at 5. And then you're asleep again. Now, I'm just not saying that to be flippant.
No,
it's
I understand what you're saying.
a jarring thought, because what it suggests is, well, I'm doing that, and really don't want to be doing that. I'm still doing that.
And am I trapped forever?
Yeah, right. I have a 9-month-old, and I keep thinking, I have to be honest, I'm maybe more selfish. I keep thinking I still don't want to do it, and I don't want Katie to be exposed to it. but it seems like keep doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And-
I have a nephew who once asked, he was at that time 20 years old or so, and very undecided to commit himself to any kind of a career. And yet a very serious person. He loves to be with animals, things, and he likes agriculture. He has interests. It's not that he is at a loss of that. But he said, I want to find a job which is a vacation at the same time. Now, that was an interesting way of putting it.
You can find two.
What were you going to say?
Oh, I was just saying, I was thinking that possibly those Saturday sounds were going on every morning, but the only mornings you had time to notice them when you were a child was on Saturdays, because it was the day you didn't have to go anywhere. You know, the wind
No
blowing.
school.
I remember that feeling too.
Yeah.
You know, Saturday morning, you get to see the light in the morning.
Supposed to have the day off, and I still don't
Yeah.
get them.
That's, you lost your one day off.
Yeah, right.
It's too bad.
You can see that in the fact that your children will be very tired at 8 o'clock on school mornings and wide awake at 6:30 on the weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. The drudgery is weighing on them.
Sad.
We used to talk about hurrying and things like that. A lot of things that I plan with my kids are things for them, like nursery school. And my son doesn't like to be hurried to go, but he loves being there.
Yes.
Is there any way that I can, I mean, he likes what I'm going to do, so it's not like I'm imposing something he hates, but he doesn't like the transition, because he likes what it is. Just reflect that back to him.
Yeah, for one thing, not to make him feel bad or stuff because he doesn't want to move. To explain to him, look, we have to get there somehow.
So it's okay to
But
take them places, even.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
you can't spend your time, your life waiting around for him to want to go somewhere.
I think the thing that you can be most painfully idealistic about is being a parent, more than about being a maid or a teacher or anything.
Yeah.
Such a personal thing.
Idealistic and guilty at the same time that one is doing.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating knowing that, you know, I'm about to thrust my children into the same system that I went through,
Yes.
with all of its problems and all the ways that it distracts you from yourself.
Yes.
But I haven't figured out any better alternative.
No, but to even begin to see that, if you really begin to see that and realize that, it'll make you more careful and attentive. There are many responses that don't have to come into full force. You may see them come up and you question them.
Maybe also being able to talk to the children about the way the system is.
Right. Well,
You know,
we
Yeah,
do,
the whole
we do.
yeah,
I still
to
feel,
share that.
I still feel a basic dissatisfaction and wish there was some better way that I could think of, some real good alternative.
mm.
You know what I mean? I feel like I'm accepting the situation and dealing with it fairly well, and taking some time with my kids to talk about it, but not changing the basic structure of it.
Yes.
And that feels
Yeah.
frustrating.
And that ultimately can only happen in yourself. What will flow from a basic change in the structure, you don't know. But can it happen in yourself? Then your relationship with your children will be not the old-fangled passing on of repetitive conditioning, unquestioned conditioning. So that it has to start with yourself.
You mean, even given the structure as it is, there are things that you can do within yourself?
I don't know whether you have to take the structure as it is. I would question that too, without rebellion, but question it. And really understand the structure. Sometimes we don't understand how lethal something is, we just go along with it. And try to explain to ourselves it's not that bad, and everybody does it, and this is, after all, you have to conform to society. We have a whole bag full of
I think that's one of the hardest things. You mentioned the structures that are around. It's one of the hardest things I know where I work. When you get into the position where you're trying to understand your own reaction to someone with whom you're speaking, and they have a very different way of looking at things. And you find yourself feeling very strongly about what you're saying. And you're trying to say, all right, well, look, I'm going to try not to get myself involved in this as far as it's going to be my win or my lose. But you still wind up being in opposition in a sense that that person wants to go that way. You want to go that way.
Yeah.
And somewhere along the line, I have difficulty handling that.
Well, where does your wanting to go that way come from?
Thinking that the outcome of going that way is
Will
better.
be more pleasurable or more...
Will be more pleasurable, hopefully for myself and the person I'm working for.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the idea, that I want them to go to this
Yeah.
particular situation instead of going, say, to a nursing home or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's difficult being in such... It would be easy, at one point in time, I remember wanting to be a Trappist monk. It would be easy being away from the world, not having to confront those situations. But when you're in a situation where you have to, it gets very confusing to try to keep yourself out of the fray, out of the back and forth of an argument about or disagreement about how you want an outcome to come.
But as long as you're concerned with outcome and with personal preference and personal satisfaction, you have this vacillating back and forth, and what you're going to choose, goodness knows what your criterion is, but it is subject to disappointment, frustration, or wanting more of it. So where does one's responses, or what one does, come from? From this personal preference, or does it come out of...
It comes out of where I think the world should be.
Yeah.
It's a terrible thing to say, but yeah. It's exactly it.
Yeah. So it's opinion versus against opinion, because somebody else thinks the world should be someplace else. And all of this is a mental disagreement, and not doesn't come out of clarity of seeing. It's 2:03, and we have a hungry crew too, right? People from staff.
Are they waiting?
I think they haven't eaten, have they?
Chris came over and took them away.
Oh.
Should we just mention that there's a sitting tonight?
Could you mention all that?
Yeah. There's a sitting tonight, and there'll be a sitting tomorrow morning, which starts at 10, and there's a talk. Toni will give a talk tomorrow morning at about 11. If you want to come just to the talk, that would be okay too. If you want the exact times, you can check with Debbie. And there's also, in addition to this place, there is a house in town where sittings are held on a regular basis. You have to see the calendar when they are. So Toni gives talks alternately here on the weekend and in town when she's having her in Rochester Springwater residence period, which is also on the calendar. At any rate, there are these talks given in town and talks given out here as well as sittings here and so on.
Monday night, if I can interrupt you, Monday night is a discussion period at the Friends Meeting House. You've been there. That starts the sitting. There's going to be about 50-minute sitting, right? No.
Starts at 7:30.
Yeah, starts at 7:30, and the discussion period, which is something of the kind we've had here, starts at 8:30. If you just want to come to the discussion period, then come about 8:25, 5 minutes earlier. So.
That's every Monday or just this Monday?
Just this Monday. You have to consult our calendar very carefully. It's very dispersed activities. Yeah. And then there are retreats. If you want more information about retreats, or so, then Debbie can give you information sheets on that. Retreats which last a week, but can be attended for any length of time: 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. And in retreats, there's a daily talk given, and there's a possibility, if people wish to, for having a private meeting together. and maybe hear some birds.
Yeah. A couple Saturdays in a row.
We also have a book, Seeing Without Knowing, Tony's book for sale, and a little booklet called Introduction to Zen for sale. Let's see if we can open. And tapes. There are tapes of talks that were given here or in during retreat, and those are for sale too.
Do we have the current newsletter available?
Yeah, the current, most people probably have the current newsletter, but if you don't,
How much
yeah,
did the
it
tapes
is
cost?
$5 too.
Did you have one that was updated last week? Or
Yeah,
how was it?
yeah, if you want,
And lunch will be served?
in the kitchen now.
The lights.
Thank you.
Should we take our cups for tea? Or if you want?
Yeah, that'd be good. Same cup.
What was the answer? Should we take?
Yeah. If you want tea or water or something.